Welcome to the MLB Network Podcast presented by New Balance. I'm Adnan Burke. It is great to have you with us. And today, one of my favorites, John Ortiz, who's been a terrific actor for a long time from the likes of American Gangster, American Fiction, Silver Linings Playbook, and of course, one of my favorites, of course, Carlito's Way. John's now joining us today to talk about a special new project. It's a new documentary called The Diamond King. It's available now on Apple TV+, Amazon Prime, Google TV, and Kinema, and it is absolutely fabulous for all you baseball fans out there. You are going to love The Diamond King, streaming in all those networks that I just said. John Ortiz, a previous guest on Cinephile, my podcast. Now we get to talk on the MLB Network Podcast. Johnny, it's great to see you, man. How you been?
It's great to see you, Adnan. I've been great, and it's a real honor to be here on the MLB Podcast.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you. The Diamond King, it's all about the remarkable life and career of the artist Dick Perez. Why is Perez's work, John, so important to the history of baseball?
Well, first of all, Dick Perez, who I didn't know before the director reached out to me, is an amazing artist. He's Puerto Rican. Oh, there's my little bulldog playing tricks on me.
Live podcast, Johnny. It happens.
Yeah,
it's all
we're
good.
live, baby. We're live. It's a good thing I caught that right before the laptop dropped.
Could have been a catastrophe. All good.
So Dick Perez, yeah, he's an amazing artist. I didn't know him, and then I found out that he's Puerto Rican, and he had such a major impact on baseball. In particular, he was the Baseball Hall of Fame artist, and he was a key figure in the rise in popularity of baseball cards. And I was like, I got to be a part of this. So the film spans the history of baseball, professional baseball, through the perspective of his amazing, really cool artwork with these baseball cards.
So that's what drew you to the project, is the fact that, again, as a lifelong baseball fan, but his particular connection to it and how that's grown the game of baseball.
Yeah, he's the subject of the entire film. I mean, you have baseball as a backdrop, but you really get to know the person, the human. There's like a great part of it about his relationship with his mother, his lifelong romance with his wife, Lou, who's a character in it, and yeah, you just get to get an insight on this person. And I personally had like parallels to his life, you know, by being Puerto Rican, growing up in New York City, being an artist. And so so there's that. And then when you're watching the film, you can't help but be smiling like 90 to 95% of the time. It's that beautiful.
And as you said, there's so many great stories in there. There's a great story in the film about a series of postcards featuring Perez's artwork. And how did Joe DiMaggio inadvertently impact the popularity of those cards?
Well, Perez Steel, which was a company that was formed when they were making these cards, decided to sell them in conjunction with the Hall of Fame. And because the cards themselves cost the same to produce, no matter what image was on them, that's how much they sold for. So Joe DiMaggio was like, wait a minute, you're selling my card for the same price that you're selling this other guy's card that bats .211. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to sign these cards. So whenever they had functions and they were selling them in the ads, they said it had to be put in print that Joe DiMaggio will not sign Perez Steel cards. So of course, inadvertently, everyone wanted these cards Mr. Joe the Great DiMaggio would not sign. So his impact on the boom that happened after that was huge.
I'm curious, did you own some Diamond Kings cards back in the day?
I did have a few Diamond Kings. Like most kids, like that card company, Don Russ, they were formed because Topps was ruled that it cannot operate as a monopoly. So when they produced their cards, they were told that you can have a special prize in there, but it can't be a bubble gum because Topps has that. So they came up with this beautiful artwork that you're showing now of Diamond Kings, in which they would put one player from each team that was, most likely their best player, like that beautiful Bo Jackson there, and that would be the prize, and they would then construct a kind of puzzle. So I, like most kids, wanted that Diamond King because it just popped. It just was like a beautiful thing that was different and really cool. And so I did have a few. And I did not know until I started working on this project how many, and I had quite a few. So I got Dick Perez to sign a few, and they're worth a few more bucks now, I think.
I got to go run to my garage right now. See how many Donruss baseball cards I have, because I'm sure I got a few from that era. We'll be back after this. Plenty more with John Ortiz here on the MLB Network Podcast. Worn by players like Michael Harris to meet the demand of elite ball players, the New Balance Fuel Cell 4040 V7 is a versatile cleat. The 4040 V7 is built for the athlete who needs responsiveness and ability to cut and run at their full speed. The model features a fuel cell foam underfoot and a synthetic and mesh upper to provide breathability, comfort, and a snug fit as you round the bases. The fuel cell midsole features nitrogen-infused foam specifically designed to propel athletes forward. Learn more and purchase the 4040 at newbalance.com.
Baseball. For more than 150 years, this game has been at the center of America. The home runs, the stolen bases, the strikeouts, the great catches. To Lou Gehrig and Ted Williams and Satchel Paige, to Don Drysdale, Johnny Bench, and Tony Gwynn. Baseball has always had such wonderful heroes.
Dick Perez, the official artist of the Baseball Hall of Fame, creates baseball masterpieces.
I've painted scenes and players from its inception until today.
You specialize also in baseball cards.
And I said, let's take the best player, in that team. They liked the idea and they let me loose.
We call them our Diamond Kings.
So they're going to start calling John Ortiz a Diamond King. They're going to have my job here at MLB Network. Easy, John. You got enough jobs as it is, all right? But I appreciate the fact, your passion for baseball, and talking all about this new wonderful film, The Diamond King, available to stream now, all about Dick Perez. Creating art through baseball has truly been a lifelong dedication for Perez. How is that passion conveyed in the film?
Well, he covers the entire history of the game. It's pretty amazing, and in particular, he highlights players that may not be as famous as Lou Gehrig was, or Cy Young, Ty Cobb, but some of the other lesser-known greats like Buck O'Neill and a bunch of others, and in fact has painted every single Hall of Famer inducted into the Hall of Fame. So it's a really cool just span, like someone who dedicates their lives to the entirety of something as iconic as baseball and what it means to this country is pretty amazing. And then you can't help but tie in all the different eras that baseball existed in. And so there's a wonderful chapter or chapters of the Negro League. I mean, he goes way back to the Civil War and the modern period. And so you really get to appreciate the richness of the whole span of baseball tied into the history of this country. And that's pretty cool.
Like Perez, you're of Puerto Rican descent, even named your son Clemente. As you told me before, he's not as big a baseball guy as you, but he is a pilot. You're very proud of him. What kind of an impact did Roberto Clemente have on you?
He had a huge impact on me. I mean, he obviously, as a ball player, you just look at his stats and they just pop. But to be a true pioneer in this country when he came in, and to not only play as great as he did, I think he was the best right fielder of all time. But then more importantly, as a human being, that's the most profound impact he had on my life. He carried himself with nothing but pure class and truly cared for others. And nothing is more indicative of that when you recall how he unfortunately and tragically passed on his way to a Central American country to deliver much needed food and resources to earthquake victims. And his plane unfortunately went down and he perished. But he was, by all accounts, a saint of a man.
John, you grew up in Brooklyn as a Yankees fan. I'm curious, who is your favorite player? And also, as a side note, Brooklyn is historically a National League town, so fans are usually go Mets. Why'd you go Yankees?
I guess because they were winning. I mean,
good answer.
Yeah, because my grandfather hated the Yankees, and he was my father figure, and that's how I used to watch games, and he helped me fall in love with the game. And he was a huge Brooklyn Dodgers fan, and when they moved to LA, he followed them along and was an LA Dodger fan. And in fact, when I first had the connection with the Yankees, they were playing against the Dodgers in the '77 World Series. And so I had no other reason but to choose the Yankees because they were winning, I guess. Or maybe I just wanted to annoy my grandfather.
Or you just like pinstripes. Who was your favorite Yankee?
Growing up, it was Thurman Munson.
Nice.
Yeah, and then Ron Guidry.
Oh.
And then Don Madden.
You liked your. I was about to say, you like your fiery competitors. What was it about Guidry and Munson you loved so much?
Munson, it must have been just his stature, just his way of being, like his presence. Like when he was on the field as a 7-year-old, I was like, who's that guy? It's just the way he carried himself. He was like the epitome of a captain. And that you got to see him at all times because he was the catcher, I guess, is what drew me to him. Guidry, when he struck out 18 against the Angels in '78, I think it was, I was just like, I mean, he was electric, and I just felt it in the city, as a kid, the back pages of the Daily News. I loved his windup, which I tried to duplicate in my first pitch.
Wait, were you a lefty?
Yeah. I wasn't a lefty, no, but I still did it. I used to just I pitched a bit in Little League, and almost every other pitch I had a different windup because I would just imitate, the guy. So I had a Guidry, I had a Dave Righetti,
Louis Tiant. Yeah.
I didn't really have a tee on. I wasn't that cocky. And I wasn't allowed to smoke cigars back then. But I had a Tommy John even, and nice. I had a Gossage. I had a Goose Gossage. Yeah.
We're going to dig up the archives. John Ortiz, different one. Or see if you can do it now today. That would be the real challenge. We could do it again. But, all right, time for a quick timeout here on the MLB Network Podcast. When we come back, John Ortiz with a doozy of a story about Al Pacino from the set of Carlito's Way. You don't want to miss this, I promise you. Welcome back to MLB Network Podcast presented by New Balance. We're talking with award-winning actor John Ortiz. Make sure you check out The Diamond King. John knows where I'm going with this because it's one of the best stories I've ever heard in my life. He's got a great story about Al Pacino on the set of Carlito's Way. I know you just told this during the Dan Le Batard show, John, but it's such a good story. It's a different audience. Talk to me about being with Al and Brian De Palma and the Espressos. Go for it.
Okay, I'm going to try to give you the somewhat short version. So I'm shooting my death scene, the shot of me being dead, and Pacino
in the pool
needs to fly to LA for the Oscars that day or that night, and I had been up for over 16 hours with less than 2 hours sleep the night before because I was called in really early to do these special prosthetics on me where they, with the fake neck. So by the time we shot this scene where Al Pacino is in the bathroom and he comes out and he's like, "I'm coming out now.
You think you big time? You're gonna die big time."
And boom, the door goes open. The door goes out. The camera follows Pacino out, and it lands on me. And I had been drinking coffee all day because I had very little sleep. And every time the camera would land on me, I would hear cut, and De Palma would cut the scene because my eyes were jittery and from all the caffeine that I had. And we did it like 3 or 4 times, and it would stop right at that moment. And finally, De Palma goes over to Pacino and says, "Don't worry, I'm going to just stay on you. You're going to catch your plane to LA." And I'm thinking, I'm hearing all of this because I'm right there lying in a pool of blood. And I'm thinking, my career is over. I can't
It's all my fault. I'm screwing this up.
Like, this is my first acting job. And what kind of actor will I be if I can't even play dead? So I'm just, horrified. I'm embarrassed. And Pacino then tells De Palma, "You know what? Just clear the room. I want everybody out." I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm creating this. I feel his team, nearby being really kind of anxious and nervous because basically a plane is waiting for him. And he clears out the room. Everyone leaves, and I'm just kind of one of the last ones out because I'm like trying to detach myself from the pump of blood, that's supposed to be coming out. And I'm in this sticky pool of blood. And he reaches out for me and says, no, stay. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? He's like, yeah, I just needed everybody out. I'm gonna have an espresso. Do you want one? And of course, any person in their right mind would politely decline the offer because they're, almost ODing on caffeine at the moment. But what comes out of my mouth is, yeah, sure, I'll have one. And so I'm now there with Pacino. He orders 2 espressos, and I don't know what we talked about, but we were there for just a few minutes. And
I think he asked you about how would you last night. You go, yeah, I took my girlfriend out. Casual stuff, right?
Yeah, right. And so we go back in. He yells action, and I'm coming out now. You want to play big time? You want to die big time? The camera pulls in. Pacino, I feel, go by me, and it's at that moment where I would hear cut, and it continues, and then it goes to him, and he says, there are no friends in this business, primo. And he kind of takes the money and leaves, and then I hear cut. We got it. And everyone runs to Pacino and are wishing him, lots of luck at the Oscars. And I'll never forget, he's like, just at the, he actually was nominated for 2 Oscars that year, for Scent of a Woman, and I'll give you a prize if you can guess the second one.
Yeah, go ahead.
And
finish the story.
And he's about to he's about to leave the room, and he turns back and he says, "If I win them both, I ain't coming back." And I'm just like, wow, that's the man right there. He saved my life, and he's just like the ultimate hero.
Greatest story ever. John Ortiz in the Center Cleto's Way. You can't say no to Al Pacino when he offers you an espresso. We're back to wrap things up with John on the MLB Network Podcast right after this. Welcome back to MLB Network Podcast. We've been talking with award-winning actor John Ortiz about the new film, The Diamond King. Here he is throwing at the first pitch in Seattle recently. Most importantly, John, it was a heater, right? Right down the middle, perfect strike.
It was, I didn't bounce it.
Correct. That's all I was going to say. Just don't tell me about. And you went from the top of the mound, so you're fearless.
I did. I was right on the rubber, and I did not bounce it, and it was somewhat over the plate.
We'll take it. Big strike zone. That's in there for a strike. Time for the We Got Now question presented by New Balance. Who is your favorite player to watch right now, and why?
I got to say Aaron Judge. You know, the guy's just like, he's this giant of a man. You know, he hits the homers. You look at him, and that's all you might expect. And yet he's hitting 400 right now. And in the outfield, he's a Gold Glove.
So Diamond King is available now on Apple TV Plus, Amazon Prime, Google TV, and Kinema. Check out the DiamondKingMovie.com for more information. John Ortiz, he knows how much I love his work, especially American Fiction. He and Jeffrey Wright, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Jack Goes Boating. He's a great actor and a great guy. Thanks so much, John. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me. No, this is Dick Perez.
Awesome. Dick Perez on Clemente.
Yeah.
2 all-time greats.
Thanks for having me, man. So great to be here.
Awesome. You're the best. See you next time. The MLB Network Podcast presented by New Balance.